Hi Equals, it's Kim, and today we're going to talk about the kind of worst situation for a young person in a school system, and that is when one or the other or both of their parents or the school are not only not affirming, but outright sometimes hostile. So first of all, I've done a video already on how to parent an LGBT child. It's really easy. Be affirming. If you don't know something, seek to learn it. There's lots of resources, PFLAG, online, folks like Equality Ohio, lots of places where you can go and learn more about what it is to be LGBT, and then you love your child. You love your child unconditionally. That is how to be an affirming parent. And it's not just accepting your child. It's not just tolerating your child. It's affirming your child. Up here, there'll be a link to that video that talks about that. What happens when you have particularly hostile parents is that some children, and I will say there are some tough kids out there that will make it regardless. Unfortunately, they're not every kid. And even if one child commits suicide because of hostile parents, or ends up homeless, or ends up in the juvenile justice system or the foster care system because of hostile parents, it's one child too many. When parents are not affirming or try to cure their child, they may send them to a conversion therapist, they may try some form of tough love. Some kids, again, not all, but some kids, right, will feel that because they can't change, you can't change your sexual orientation or your gender identity. To some extent, you can adjust your behaviors, but you can't change the identity. And because you can't, the child feels like they have massively let down their parents and that everybody would be happier without them. And this can end badly. I'll put up some other videos I've done in the past that talk about, some of the outcomes of that. So if you are a parent and you don't know what to do, first, love your child unconditionally. And second, learn. There's all kinds of resources out there. All right. So that's if the family is unaffirming. Now, if the family is unaffirming or hostile, and the school wants to do what they can, and sometimes the family, the parents will say to the school, you cannot teach my child anything positive about LGBT people. You cannot teach my child about anything having to do with gender identity other than cisgenderism. I'll include that up there. You cannot call my child by any other name than the one I put on their birth certificate, and you cannot use any other gender pronoun besides the one traditionally goes with the gender marker on their birth certificate. That puts the school in a really tough place. They want to support this child, and yet the parents won't let them. So this might be a case where the school, principal, teachers, counselors, kind of sit down with the child and work out what they're going to do. And it may be that the school can simply say, hey, look, we want to help you. Your parents are putting these limits on us, and so there's only so much we can do publicly, but know that privately we do support you. We do affirm you. We want to do what we can. Let's talk about what that might be. And maybe it's just some private time with a counselor, where the counselor, in the privacy of that session, can use the proper pronouns and the name the child would like to be called. Those are some options. Maybe just passing in the hallway. When there's no one else to hear you, you use the child's preferred name. There's some ways that can happen, but it does put teachers teacher staff, principals, in a particularly difficult situation. All right, now what about if the school is also not affirming? All right, in these kinds of situations, we get the stories of, the kindergarten kindergartner whose birth certificate says male, but they're bringing a pink backpack to school, and the recess person tells all the other children not to play with this child because of the pink backpack, that somehow it's gender nonconforming. There is this thread of how humans relate to other humans around shame. And some people's ongoing insistence that this is how we should change people's behavior is by shaming them. So what this looks like in a school is to allow bullying and harassment, like an adult not stepping in to halt bullying and harassment between kids, because they feel that, if it gets bad enough, the child will change their behavior, change themselves in order to avoid whatever the bullying and harassment is. And again, some kids can do this. They can make it through on this. Some kids can't. To some extent, it depends on their privilege. So the more higher education, the more support they're getting somewhere else, the maybe their athletic ability, to some extent their race, their gender, their appearance, if they're really good looking. All of these things can be privilege that can be a buffer for a child, so that that lack of that privilege can also sometimes indicate the child who can't make it, can't move through the world and ignore these kinds of microaggressions and sometimes even macroaggressions. So bullying and harassment, if the school is not stepping in to stop bullying and harassment, that's a problem. Sometimes the adult who's not stepping in, so the principal, the teacher, may think that they may think that the bullying and harassment will somehow force the child to change, and then once they change, then they won't be bullied or harassed anymore. You often hear this in an adult saying to a child, well, if you just didn't talk like that, or if you just didn't walk like a girl, and if you didn't dress so much like a girl, or if you didn't dress so much like a boy, or whatever that kind of stop being yourself language and pretend to be somebody else kind of advice, we hear that. That's that shame piece. If you just fix yourself, you wouldn't be bullied so much. This is problematic. The bully needs to be addressed. Partially because the bully is behaving badly, but also because bullies usually have some sort of emotional issues themselves that really should be addressed. Okay, bullying and harassment. Don't victimize, don't blame the victim. It's the bully who needs to be addressed. I get sometimes comments about, I don't want to infringe on a student's religious freedom to express their religious beliefs. Well, there is a difference between expressing your religious belief and bullying and harassing a child. If you simply say, I don't believe in gender nonconformity, that people should grow comfortable with their femininity or their masculinity, whichever is traditionally associated with the gender marker on their birth certificate, that's one thing. But when you aim it at a particular child and you shame that particular child, no, that's not religious freedom. That's bullying and harassing. All right, so school is non-affirming. When a parent is non-affirming, what can we do? You're adults out there. A lot of you watching are adults. Watch for the opportunity to be the one adult in a child's life who's affirming. You may not be able to be publicly affirming, but privately, you can give that child some support. I'm with you. I hear you. I see you. Come to me if things get really bad. I will try to do what I can. And then be the adult who gently talks to leadership. Maybe really we should handle this situation differently. Or look, here's some resources that I think we could look at so that we could help this child better. We can try. rather than just sitting back and saying, there's nothing I can do for this child, the parents won't let me, the school will fire me. There is a way to privately be supportive of that child. You may be the only adult in that child's life who is. And principals out there, regardless of how you feel about the LGBT kids in your school, and they are there, if you don't know about it, maybe you want to consider why you don't know about it. If people aren't coming out to you, there is a reason. They don't trust you. They think that you're going to respond poorly. Something. There's generally a reason. If you think you don't know any LGBT people, why? And it's usually because people sense that you are not welcoming in some way, shape, or form. If you're comfortable with that, that's your walk in life. But if you're actually trying to help, you might want to consider maybe some of the things you're saying, maybe some of the words that you're saying. We've talked about, parents who use derogatory terms, and some of them having to do with femininity is somehow being bad. The words like pussy and pansy and, there's a number of words. I won't say them all. Boys are sometimes called because they are being perceived as being too effeminate. And parents use this language. Coaches use this language. It's hard for us to tell young boys not to bully and harass other people using that language when the people they respect use the language. Be the adult in the world. I'm going to link some resources below that might be able to help you out in the description box. Check them out. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Hit the red subscribe button. Hit the little red notification, or I don't know if it's red. Hit the notification bell that'll notify you every time I put up a new video. Please engage in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Have a good week, equals.